Hi, everybody. I am here to talk about how we can use IC to help you reclaim some of your valuable time and still deliver those good quality, high quality geological evaluations. We're going to have a quick introduction and welcome, which I'm already starting. Then we're going to do a live demo of IC, and we're going to hit on a few of those points that I want us all to take away, hopefully, from the webinar. So from this session, I want us to understand how we can help build confidence in our data, get to that decision making faster and save ourselves a lot of time, and understand and be confident in our data with the collaboration of all of our disciplines in our project team and still work with that high quality output. Hopefully you can all see my screen fine. We're in IC right now. And as part of the introduction, I wanted to give you all a little wave, but the webcams, I imagine, will not work too well on that. So that's a recent picture of myself working in the home office. I hope you're all staying safe just now and taking all the precautions you need wherever you may be. The plan is we will go through, and I want to start with a few of you may not know me, but to introduce myself, I'm the product champion for IC. I am a geologist by trade, spent a lot of time in the exploration team, and over the years I've been working with IC and ODM in its previous incarnation for a long time on a lot of diverse projects, from regional studies down to core analysis and more detailed well reviews. And with a lot of our clients, we've discovered that actually using IC to do these fundamental, the 2D geology in a lot of our projects, regardless of the scale, they were actually saving a lot of time. So projects that would take a week to build a well review, we managed to cut that down to a day to generate one well review and use that to push on to other wells in a very similar manner. So that's one of the things that I'd like us to talk about. The idea behind this, the saving your time and the value of that time, especially now with all this risk, and we're trying to get to the decision making faster and spend more time assessing our interpretations rather than going through all the QC and questioning our data. That's what I want us to talk about. Okay, so the start of our project, or the start of our demo here today, I am going to work on a map. Good, I'm sorry, I just had a quick check there. You can all see this. So the idea behind IC for the 2D geology side of things, with the mapping, our data interrogation, our analysis, our visualization package here, it fits really nicely between that high-powered seismic interpretation with the high volumes of data, and then later on that 3D modeling side of things. So with our links to other software and the ability to bring in data and build this database, we can go and look at our data further. So the first thing I want to look at is a simple map looking at the distribution of our data. So within IC on the maps, we have the layers. So I can bring in standard GIS outlines, field outlines like so, coastlines, blocks, license blocks and things. So you can see we've highlighted a couple on this map. What I also want to look at is my data. So within this database, what am I working with, right? I'm new to the team. I need to understand what I've got and what I can do with it. So things like simple dragging on queries that have been made to identify which wells have gamma ray, which wells have an interpreted lithology. So you can see here we have our well queries appearing, and it's telling us our number. So we have 13 wells on this map, and we can see all 13 are hitting with these. But within that standard, where's the data present, we can actually dig deeper, and not just in the well is this present. We can actually look and go deeper in a specific zone. So our reservoir zone, for example, does it have an interpretation? Now you can drag these on, obviously, once you've made them, drag them on one at a time. But if you're sharing this project with the rest of your team, once you've made them, there's no need for everyone to make them. So again, saving time already, that they can actually build a series of queries here and just drag an entire folder over and apply That's 6 queries added on there in seconds. So you can identify really quickly, okay, yeah, I can see I've got some missing data over here. What is that? Have a look. And beyond just deciding which wells are of interest or which wells need more investigation to help reduce that uncertainty and build up your confidence in your data, with this highlighting, we can actually then go deeper and start analysing the data. So from here, I'm just going to open up another map that I'd already started. So we have the analysis ability. So on our map toolbox, we can build up things like component bubbles. So this is a breakdown of a particular zone. So for this one, it's bed A. You can set it up all over here. Once it's set up, we can then use our stratigraphic toolkits to step up and down through our units and identify and highlight any anomalies perhaps, or areas that we want to go and look further at. So this is just a gross understanding of the lithofasces within a bed. We can then look a bit closer and see, okay, are these all clustered, or is it lots of thin beds interbedded? What we can do is use analysis sticks. So it's the exact same analysis, so the lithofasces interpretation within a specific bed, but we can see the relative thickness changes, for example. So we've got really thin beds over here and a really thick section over to the southeast here. And you can see we've got a lot of the Sabkha is orange and the Aeolian's the yellow in these wells, but actually we've got just a lot of shale and Aeolian in this well. That's a bit of an anomaly. Over here you can see the differences as well. What we can then do is use that stratigraphic awareness that we've built into IC to step up really quickly. So instead of having to build 5 different maps, we can actually step up and down our units really quickly and see the variations. And if I step up again, you'll see everything has changed. It's all linked together. Our analysis sticks and our zone of interest for the bubbles are all content to stay together and update. What hopefully you've noticed here in our bed B, I've got a blue diamond in here, which is telling us we're inferring data. Now, that could mean a couple of things. So, okay, let's go look at that a bit closer. So what I want to do is build a quick correlation. So let's get some neighboring wells and grab those and build a correlation. This is one of our time savers. We have this wizard that we can step through and choose which zones we're interested in. So you can go and look at the whole of the well. Of course, you can hit and apply the limits. So have the database search for the extremes of data coverage and apply those. But I know I'm only interested in what's going on in bed B here. So I'm going to look at my bed data and give it a little buffer. So I'm going to select all my wells and apply that depth range. I then get to choose the scale of that. So what kind of margins do I want, spacing, all that is very set up. You can start with that as a base and update the chart when we create it. Then we get to work with templates. Now these are standard plots that have been saved to the database for any of your team to make or to use when building these kind of plots. So as the geologist, I can come in and say, right, I want to understand what's going on with my chronostratigraphy, my lithostratigraphy, my lithologies, my core coverage. I want to see all of that together. I want to see specific curves. I want to see my image logs, etc., etc. Once those are made, anyone can use them if you let them, if you have them saved for everyone to use. And then for correlations, we're looking at multi-wells, so we can add on specific ties. So between the wells, what are we interested in? So for this one, I'll use beds. Now that we've got this multiple wells plotted here, you can see, hang on a second, what's happening? I have this plotted in measured depth, so we can see the relative changes or the relative differences on our map really quickly. What we can do is actually move these wells independently, like so, or we can actually have them all set. There's tools in place to help you really quickly get them nicely spaced out and visualize them all really well. So if we apply this and we can flatten on a specific interval, and because I've got ties, I tend to, instead of using this, I tend to go to my right click option and flatten on an interval top. Yes. So now I can go straight into these wells, and I know it's this well on the right that I had that inferred data. So again, I want to zoom in a little closer, and I can now see why I'm being inferred. There's the lithophasces data. I have no bed B in this well. So I can happily go in here and start editing the data. Because I have a bed A and a bed B, I have my upper Pelican, I can assume quite happily that my bed B is in this gap. So the map is telling me the right content for that bubble, but I can go in and complete my data set in here. So I could select something. There's multiple ways you can do this, but it's all really quick. You can have boundaries, all of this updated. My stratigraphy is understandable here, and then I can quickly drag and create something. All right, so then I can fill in the gaps here. My ties update really quickly. I can now go back and see my completed section. Okay, so from here, we can do things like change the scale or where the position of things are, how easy things are to change like that. So if I change and decide, actually, I'm not really interested in these beds, I'm more interested in what's happening up here. So I can happily move up and down these all together or zoom in on one specific if we want to. And again, the scale of these can be changed. So I can change the scale. I can also change the actual vertical depth reference. So these are all measured depth right now. I can change them all to be in TVDSS. And I can also change them if I have the data to change them into age. So this is basically a really quick Wheeler diagram. And I can then go in and flatten things again on the zero depth so that all of my ages are associated there. From here, I can start adding in extra information. So I can add in a map, for example. I could add in my lithophasces map. And I can make that bigger, smaller, set the scales. It's all very flexible in this one place. And this is what we call montaging. So this is our one chart canvas that we start building that collaboration tool. So the entire team can use this one canvas to start working on everything that they're working on. So cross-section, for example. So there you go, same field, cross-section over here, and we can happily change the orientation of this based on what it is that we want to highlight and talk about as a team. All right. So it's really that fast. I mean, that's the start of a really decent montage already. Just trying to think what else I need to show you in here, but we'll be coming back to this chart. I don't want to rush through and end up with no time left, but I want to come back out of this. So actually I'll go back into that map. So I can actually just open it up, double click, open it, I'm back in a map. All right. And from here, that was a multi-well starting of a montage, understanding, discussing everything to get to our decision making. Oh, I can see this in this well. It's making me think we need to go and reassess something else, or oh, let's see what happens when we bring in this data. Does that corroborate, or does it show us something we need to go look further at? So from there, we can go and look specifically at a single well. So that was multi-well viewing. We can pick up, again, we have ways of saving a design of something and generating a very quick summary chart based on a single well. What happened there? Always away with a live demo. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. There we go. So we could go in and look at the detail on a specific well. So you can see here, very simple projection lines. We have the bubble map here, some production data, and some extra drilling data here. So this is, again, that collaboration between all of our different team members come out with, okay, this is a complete story. Now, this is one of the tools that we had a lot of time saved. So again, instead of having to drag everything into a PowerPoint, this becomes our geological PowerPoint. We get to store all this data, and it's all linked to the live data. So any change you make in here, for example, if I go back into edit the data, and let's change, that's pretty significant. Let's change the name of that to something else. So if you guys keep an eye on the map, that's that same bubble that we looked at in the maps before, the lithophases. If I change that to be a shale, right, big massive change, we've had a team discussion, nobody thinks that that's the correct interpretation, I can apply that change to the data and you can see the bubble automatically updates. The data on here updates, it's all linked. So those visuals, no matter what you do to the data, you can work in this environment all together, make the interpretations, discuss things, change them back, and see what impact that has on everything else that you are working on. And that's just for one well. So once we have this set up, we can actually go in and we have tools available for us to go in and choose a different well. So it picks up the new well, see the name changed here, the projection of that, the lithophases bubble updates, the production input changes, the table changes. Okay, oh, that was the same one we were in. And again, it just goes back and forth, changes to match what it is that you're looking for. All right, zoom in a bit closer, that'd be helpful. So you get to see everything is updating when you go in and out of all of these tables and charts. There is a way here, so that's us visualizing things on a chart. We can go from there to creating an entire well book with this standard format that we can share with our team, with our managers, with the rest of our partners, for example, in a standard format for us to identify really quickly where things are different, what changes have happened, what should we be discussing. Okay, so again, it's that getting to the root of things faster to get those decisions made with very high confidence in what you're seeing is a team effort. We have got all the input. We have made the highest probable choice for each of these interpretations, etc., etc. Okay, so you can export these as charts. So for example, I have a folder in here that's all my summary charts, and that just chugs through, picks up each of the wells that I choose and builds this chart, keeps it in IC so that any data changes, I could just go into these summaries and see them. I can also export them as PDFs to then share externally. Again, once you come out of IC, it becomes a screenshot of, at this time, this was what we were interpreting, this is what the data was telling us. So we're saving a lot of time, and this is where we saw people going, like I say, from using PowerPoints and taking a week to generate from all these external sources, pulling everything in to create one view, to taking a day to generate the first one and minutes to get the rest of their field done. So that's obviously a more detailed single well review. What we also have are things like this. This is another way to look at our field-wide data. So this has some production data. These graphs here are our production data. So we have our production team obviously feeding us the data. We have our geological interpretation here. Again, we're looking at those beds that we're interpreting. And we have the ability to step through time. So we're back in 94 here. So I'm just going to hit this rather than me clicking and clicking and clicking. It will automate it all, and you'll see the bubbles are changing on the map. Our graphs are changing to show our gas cut and our oil cut and when the water comes in. So again, really quick way of viewing that history of our field to be able to identify areas. Whoa, why is that water coming so suddenly here? Okay, yeah, that was when we did something. There's extra information that we can add. For example, if I stop this, if we can insert external files, for example, we've got down here logos. So you can generate these high quality plots on this one place that's bringing everything in, and then you can choose to bring in files from Excel, for example. Yeah, that'll do. Make it a bit bigger so we can see it, I'm sure. Let's go. So we have, again, that's extra information for this particular field. All right, and that's linked to the Excel file. So any changes, again, that happen in there, or new rows that happen, or any new interpretation, that can all be updated really quickly. So that's another kind of the field wide, reservoir wide, layers wide. It can be broken up anyway, but to get to that kind of detail, we are saving so much time generating all this. And again, it can be built. You know, the maps don't take much to build. All of these are items that can be added and worked with really, really quickly to allow our team to collaborate and discover more from that field, right? Dig deeper, get into the well reviews, go, okay, right, I'm interested over here. They can go back into that map and get the detail. Sorry, back into the map and get that higher detail from that summary chart. Or instead of getting sucked into all those tables and tables of data, we just visualize it really quickly. You know, so instead of it being that's the template we used before, we could use something else. You know, we could look at all of the different types of data for that. We could look at the entire well. It happens really, really quickly. All right. And then you get to do things like zoom in on specific depth ranges. You can add more data. These templates are a starting point. They're also flexible. You can go in and add curve data. Let's add a quick gamma ray. We all know that we know that they all have a gamma ray. The visuals are there, right? It's a starting point for you to work with a team to build up a standard format for the entire company to use, to build that, the well review, the field reviews, and understand that quick understanding, the quick reference to each other and understand, okay, this is the decision we need to make. And based on all this information, I am confident in that decision that I'm about to make. And just to reiterate, I mean, it's all just done in that one window. There's no hidden modules that need to be added. It fits in really well. Like I say, when you have your seismic interpretation getting done in another package, obviously we don't do the seismic interpretation, you can pull those surfaces in and display them quite happily alongside the rest of your well data and build up from there. You can share your pics. You've got all this well data, right? Well data is key to all these interpretations. Everything needs to get tied to them. So this is an easy, and it's so open and easy to access. Okay, I'm on a map. What do I want to do? I want to build correlation. Click, click, click. You're there. It's so simple. We can build things, add more layers onto these things. You know, oh, these wells interest me. I want to interpret the fascies, for example, like we did before. I think that's my shoreline. That's all very kind of the quick look mapping is there for you to share with the rest of your team. Start the conversation, get together, use this as the interactive PowerPoint. It's a geological PowerPoint. I know I say that quite a lot, but it is. It's all there for you to work together. And there's nothing stopping you going from something like this to then build that further interpretation. So for example, tying on specific beds, highlighting reservoirs, highlighting seals. The entire petroleum system can be analysed in here. Adding crossplots to look at the source rock for the area, quality, quantity, all of that for a reservoir. It's all data. It can be displayed together and discussed together to come up with that ideal interpretation for you to then make those decisions, go to the rest of the team, have the discussion. I keep repeating myself, but I'm actually doing all right on time. So I just I'll go back to that this original slide because I just want you to make sure that you've seen from this really, really quick review of what we have of how you can build the visuals to back up the data rather than getting stuck inside spreadsheets and tables upon tables of information. So again, let's go into lithology data. Tables, right? That's great, obviously, if you want into the detail and you want to share with people specific depths and things. But as a geologist, I would much rather be looking at one of these templates, one of these well reviews, and collaborate that way, do it all visually and be able to share with the team, okay, I'm more interested in this section, and go from there. So I have plenty of time for questions if anybody has. Sorry, Ross, I'm stealing your MC thunder here, but this is where I wanted to end. I wanted to keep it live, so if you had any questions, I could show you anything that you were more interested in.
Okay, thanks, Katrina. That was very interesting. Almost exactly on time as well. I'm impressed. It's exactly 25 minutes. So
I did feel
had
myself talking fast, so if you do need me to go over anything, anybody, please do ask the question, and I can go back over things.
Yeah, so I do have a few questions that have come through. So this one says, you mentioned it's easy to work with data with our colleagues, such as seismic or production data. How can you do this?
So the seismic side of things, obviously we don't do the seismic interpretation, but what we can do is bring in external grids. So the seismic surface interpretations that you have completed or are working on within the likes of Petrel or Kingdom, you can then pull those in as a file. And we have links to the likes of Petrel that you can go and pull these resources in directly. So you can have files, for example, sitting in a folder. Sorry, I moved that one. But it's sitting in a folder for you to then use and display on your map. Okay, and the display itself is up to you. So it's like the quick look grids that can be generated in IC on the maps. Based on the pics, for example, you can pull in your seismic interpretation alongside that just to tie it in. To use it, you have it, may as well use it, right? Production data, so things like I've got water geochemistry for these wells plotted. I've got the standard production dashboard here. These are all generally tables of numbers coming out of one product or another that IC can be pointed at. We don't have to pull it in. It can be linked and updated every night. We've got some clients that run a database level script that pull in their production data every night, so that come start of the day and the next day, everybody has the most up-to-date data on a day-to-day basis. So it's all doable. But we do have those links to the likes of IP or Petrel, OpenWorks, StratBugs, that can pull in any of that kind of data. Anything that's well related, depth related, we can pull in.
Okay. Someone else asked about this, the security of your templates. So they're saying that you've used various formats and templates. How secure are they? Can anyone go and change them?
When it comes to templates, generally, yes, they are a starting point. So I have the template manager that you can have set to we've got a lot of clients working on a master database that then their projects are set up by geographic region, so North Sea, Norwegian Sea, Barents Sea, for example, and they have a series of specific standard company templates that they have locked into a particular project, so that the users that have specific privileges, so the going in and administering databases has the ability to add data or format data, build dictionaries, that kind of thing that we use a lot of. The templates are one of those things that, like I said earlier, is a starting point. So you can kind of lock down which projects that they are related to. But once the user's in there, they can use it, and then on the chart, they can update them and modify them themselves. Certain things that can't be locked or can be locked when it comes to templates like this are the dictionaries. So you couldn't have someone come in and change my orange zone to yellow without my permission. But templates are generally a starting point for others to work with. But if you're working on a team, right, you tend to say that's our standard. You don't mess with that, or that one's a starting point. You can update that as if you need to. So it's all about communication, and IC helps you do that. Like I say, it's that one platform, that one visualization to see everything. So you could see where someone's updated things. But yes, it's a starting point rather than a lockdown system for the templates.
Okay, thank you. The questions are coming in thick and fast now. One question is there a limitation to the number of wells you can handle in IC?
No. I mean, I know that IP, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ross, I want to say 9,999, or has that
That's
changed
right.
now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
that's still the limit. So I see we've got companies that have 100 wells in there. We have companies that have 30,000 wells in there. It's not, I mean, we're talking SQL databases ultimately here for the data storage. So unless you're going to be building really complex correlations that have 20 data types for 100 wells plotting at the same time, that's going to take a few minutes to build, but ultimately there's no upper limit. It's just a performance change when you get to the point of building these massive charts and things. You have to give it a minute. Sometimes if you're working on 100 wells at a time, or 200 or 5,000, it's you just have to correlate, what you're looking for with how long it might take. There you go. Thank you, David. So David's got all the UKCS wells in a database. So yeah, I'm working on another one that's, I think, sitting at 14,000 or something like that.
Okay. I see that there is, you mentioned IP there. There is a couple of questions about the integration with IP. I believe we did actually have a separate webinar on that exact
Yes, we have actually. It's
subject, didn't we?
probably, yeah, we could share the link, I'm sure, to the video.
Yeah, it's a
I
whole
think
new
it's,
topic there, but I mean,
yeah,
to answer the question, yes, there is integration with
yeah,
IP.
absolutely. So there's kind of two levels of integration. You can share data, keep an IC database, keep an IP database completely separate, and push data or pull data from one another to the other. But the newest way that we are talking about IP and IC is having a shared database. I guess it's the folder structure from IP and the database of IC all together to share the data. So instead of having a push and pull, it's just a case of refreshing. Much like you do, with the data that I changed in IC there, I'm working in the cache now. So anything that I changed is sitting for me to commit to the database. And it's the same with IP. Anything you work with in IP, you have to commit to the database and then it will refresh in IC if you're working in both. I can see actually, again, jumping on the IP questions, templates created in IP, so the .plt files that can be saved out, they can be used in IC to build that as a template. So when you go in and choose a template, there's actually the log templates there, and you just have to go and point to the file.
Yeah, so you don't have to recreate your log
You
plots
don't
within
have to,
IC.
not at
You can
all,
bring
the
the data
formatting
in,
and everything. Yeah,
you can bring the templates in, yeah.
exactly right.
Okay. What else have I got? This questions, I have a lot of data in Excel, tables and graphs I've spent time on previously for similar purposes. Is there any way for me to reuse those in the IC? I remember you did show us bringing in a
Yeah,
Excel file, so
yeah. So that's basically it. Again, it's on that chart. Wherever you're working, it can be a brand new one, but there's this import here, and then you just choose Excel, and then it depends on what's on the file. You can have a cross plot, the table like I showed, anything that's on an Excel form you should be able to point to in here. So there's object types, for example. You just have to select the right options in here to get what you want from your original Excel. So yeah, there shouldn't be a need to recreate anything.
yeah. Okay. A question on that, do we have a link to Stratabugs?
We do have a link to Stratabug. So again, up under the IC interface is fairly, I don't know whether it's because I've been in here a long time, but I find it fairly clean cut. If I want to work with data, bringing it in or push it out, I go to this tab, this ribbon up at the top, and this is where our data links are. So there are certain data links that are extra, they're data link kind of modules, I guess. But Stratabugs and IP are the two that come with standard IC. So Stratabugs version 2, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. Can't remember where we are now with Stratabugs, but yes, it's there. and you can point to a database and pull in, I want to say pretty much anything from Stratabugs. I don't have a local one, but it's, you know, you get to choose the data. You obviously have to choose the database first, and then you just do the mapping. Much like if it was just a file, you have to say, oh, this in the file is called tops data, but in the database I want to just call it UKCS tops or something similar, or MPD tops, or, you know, government tops or company tops, etc., etc. So that's really the manual part, and once you've done it once, it will remember it going forward. So that's
Someone's
Stratabugs,
also
but we can
asking,
go into more detail for that as well if you want to later, or in a separate conversation.
yeah, okay. Someone's also asking, is that a live link to an Excel spreadsheet? And I think you already said that it
Yes,
was. So if the spreadsheet outside of IC is updated, it will update on your canvas.
correct.
Right.
So again, it's anything on the chart. We do have the refresh button. You just hit refresh F5 and it will double check everything. But it should be updated, because you can go in. I think I closed the one that I had the Excel sheet on, but you can go in through there and edit in Excel from the chart as well. So it's all
Yeah.
linked, absolutely.
Okay, I think I've only got one more question. It must be
Okay.
from an existing IC user, because they're saying, how did you do that depth scrolling on your template? So maybe needs
That
to
is,
contextualize this there.
yeah, so that is when you have the well headers selected, there's keyboard shortcuts. So I used a lot of keyboard shortcuts, Control 0 to zoom into my complete extent of the well, or the chart coverage, sorry, W for width, H for height. But when it comes to the depth scrolling, it's just a case of shift and then my mouse wheel scrolling up and down.
Okay.
And then it's control if you wanted to change the scale of things to zoom in a bit more on that kind of level. Okay.
Okay, I think that's all the questions.
Okay, wonderful.
Uh, if there is any other questions from anyone after the event. Okay, so you've got the link there to the IC page on our website. You can
Absolutely. And
also
then there's
subscribe to the
yeah,
mailing list. If you already, I guess if you're already in contact with Katrina, you can contact her directly if you've got any questions. Otherwise, you could
absolutely.
use the IC support email address, which is icsupport@lr.org. And I think
Yep,
we'll maybe try and send out a link to the previous webinar, which showed the integration with IP, because there seems to be quite a lot of interest with that. So
it's a good idea.
try and get that sent out to those individuals.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to say thank you everybody for attending and for your questions. I hope, even if you are an IC user already, that there was something you learned there that might help you in your day-to-day life. But take care and please do get in touch. There's multiple ways, like Ross says, to get in touch. So my email directly or support, or go and subscribe and we can get in touch that way as well.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Katrina. We'll close it off there then. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
See you next time.